Here's a question that sounds like it should have a simple answer. What time should I go to bed? We ask this in the same way we ask, how much water should I drink? Or how many steps a day? As if there's a number, one single time, a single simple correct answer, just waiting to be delivered. And in the world of sleep advice, well, actually, there usually is an answer. An early bedtime, get to bed by 10 o'clock, maybe 9:30 if you're really committed. Drink your chamomile tea, turn your phone off, put the lights out. Good night. Now, the problem is that answer, well, as far as the science is concerned, is wrong. Or at least it's not the whole story. And the whole story is actually a whole lot more interesting. Welcome to, or welcome back to, the new 5 a day. I'm Nick Walters, and this is Sleep Well, episode 2. Today we're asking, when is the best time to go to bed? And the answer, spoiler, depends on you. But by the end of this episode, you'll know exactly how to find your answer. Okay? Then let's go. Right. First things first. Sleep researchers are fairly united on this. There is no single universal bedtime. What matters is 3 things. Number 1, does your bedtime give you enough sleep? Number 2, does it align with your body's natural rhythm? And number 3, is it consistent enough that your body can actually rely on it? That's it. That's the whole framework. Everything else flows from those 3 things. Okay, so let's start with the duration, because that's the one most people know. As we discussed last time, most adults need somewhere between 7 and 9 hours of sleep. That's the consensus from sleep researchers globally, the NHS, the National Sleep Foundation, the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. 7 to 9 hours most nights. So here's the simplest approach to finding your bedtime. Work backwards from when you need to get up. If you need to be up at 6:30 in the morning and you do your best on 8 hours of sleep, then you need to be asleep, not just in bed, actually asleep by 10:30 at night. Now add 15 to 30 minutes to fall asleep, and your target bedtime is around 10 or 10:15 in the evening. If you're a 5 a.m. riser, you're looking at a bedtime of about 9 p.m. And if your alarm goes off at 8, you're probably looking at 11:30. Now that's maths, not magic. But it's maths most of us have never actually done. Now, here's where it gets more interesting. Because knowing the maths is one thing. Your body clock has its own opinion on the matter. Your body runs on what researchers call a circadian rhythm, from the Latin for about a day. It's a biological timing system that runs on roughly a 24-hour cycle. It regulates when you feel sleepy, when you feel alert, when your core body temperature drops, and when hormones like melatonin, the darkness signal, are released. This clock is primarily set by light. Morning light tells your brain it's daytime. It advances the clock, and it sets up the evening sleepiness in the right place. Evening light from screens, bright overhead lights, can delay the clock and push your natural sleep window to later. This is not a myth. It is measurable biology. Now, when you go to bed in sync with your own body clock, falling asleep tends to be easier. You hit your sleep window. Melatonin is rising. Your temperature is dropping, and your brain is ready for sleep. It's like arriving at the station just in time to get the train. Now, when you go to bed before your body clock is ready, perhaps because you're trying to be good, now you may end up lying awake frustrated for an hour. And when you stay up past your natural sleep window, pushing through the tiredness, your brain can actually produce a second wind, a burst of alertness that makes sleep feel suddenly impossible, even though you're absolutely exhausted. Sound familiar? Well, that's your body clock cycling back towards alertness because you missed out on the window. You missed the train. So, timing matters, not just duration. Now, here's the part that I think is genuinely underappreciated. Not everyone's body clock runs on the same schedule, on the same rhythm. Some people are genuinely wired to sleep and wake earlier. Others are genuinely wired to sleep and wake later. Researchers call this your chronotype, and it's partly genetic, partly shaped by age, and most importantly, it is not a personality flaw. The stereotypical morning person who bounces out of bed at 6 and is annoyingly productive before breakfast, they're not morally superior. They have a body clock that runs earlier. The night owl who genuinely cannot feel human before 10 a.m., they're not lazy. They have a body clock that runs later. That's all it is. Now, age plays a huge role here. Children naturally go to sleep earlier. Then teenagers experience a genuine biological shift towards later sleep. It's not rebellion, it's developmental neurobiology. The body clock shifts towards eveningness during adolescence and doesn't start shifting back until the mid-20s, which is why asking a 17-year-old to be cognitively sharp at 8:30 in the morning is, from a sleep science perspective, a fairly extraordinary request. In middle age, the clock tends to shift earlier again. Many older adults find themselves naturally sleepy by 9 p.m. and awake at 5 or 6 in the morning, which is simply a normal change in the body clock, not a sign that anything is wrong. The practical takeaway here, your ideal bedtime is not just about when you should sleep. It's about when your biology, when your personal biology is actually ready to sleep. That is individual. Now, here's the thing that surprises a lot of people when they start reading the sleep research. It's not just about when you go to bed or how long you sleep. It's about whether you go to bed at roughly the same time most nights. Your body clock is, in a very literal sense, a clock. It sets itself based on patterns, light and darkness, meal times, when you're active, when you sleep. And if those patterns shift dramatically from one day to the next, say 10:30 p.m. on weekdays, 1:30 in the morning on weekends, your body has to keep on readjusting its clock every week. It's like crossing 2 time zones on a Friday night and then 2 time zones back again on Sunday evening. Now, there's actually a name for this. Sleep researchers call it social jet lag, the mismatch between your biological clock and your social schedule. And studies consistently find that people with large swings between their weekday and weekend sleep timing have worse sleep quality, lower mood, and worse metabolic health, even when their total sleep hours look fine on paper. Now, I want to be careful not to get all preachy about this, okay? We all have lives. Friday nights happen. Holidays happen. Late World Cup matches happen. The occasional 1 a.m. is not going to derail your health. The problem is when that becomes the default pattern, night after night, week after week. The research also suggests something reassuring. You don't need to hit a precise bedtime every night. Keeping your sleep timing within about an hour, going to bed, say, somewhere between 10:30 and 11:30 p.m., rather than a rigid 11 o'clock on the dot, that still captures most of the benefit. It's about consistency, not rigidity. And the most powerful anchor for consistency turns out not to be your bedtime. It's your wake time. Keeping your wake time steady 7 days a week is the single most reliable way to stabilize your body clock. If you can only change one thing, make it a stable, consistent wake time. Now, I want to address something that comes up a lot because there's this cultural assumption that's worth examining. You know, the one that the early bird catches the worm, the idea that earlier bedtimes are always better, that good, responsible, healthy people go to bed at 9 o'clock and the rest of us are just ill-disciplined. Now, the evidence, you won't be surprised to hear, is more nuanced than that. An earlier bedtime only helps if you can actually fall asleep, get enough hours, and wake up feeling rested. If you are an evening chronotype, naturally wired to sleep later, going to bed at 9 will just mean lying awake, feeling anxious about the fact you're not sleeping, which makes things worse, not better. There was a large study from the UK Biobank. It covers about 500,000 people, which found that going to sleep between 10 and 11 p.m. was associated with the lowest risk of cardiovascular disease compared to both earlier and later bedtimes. Now, that got a lot of headlines, but the researchers themselves were very careful about how they talked about it. This is observational data. It doesn't prove cause and effect. The U-shape they found probably reflects the distribution of chronotypes in the population. They're not saying there's some magical protective hour out there. What the evidence does consistently show is this: very late habitual bedtimes, regularly past midnight, are associated with worse outcomes, partly because early morning obligations rarely shift. So late sleep often means short sleep. And short sleep, as we covered in the first episode, is where the health risks accumulate. But within a reasonable range, somewhere between 9 and midnight, the specific hour matters less than the duration, the alignment with your body clock, and the consistency. You focus on these three things, and you're doing the important work. Okay, it's time to get practical. How can you actually find your own ideal bedtime? Here's an approach to think about. Treat it like a short experiment. Have a week or two of paying attention to what your body is actually telling you. Step 1, anchor your wake time. Pick a wake time that fits your life and stick to it. Yes, even at the weekends, or at least an hour of it. This is the foundation. A consistent wake time is what gives your body clock a reliable rhythm to synchronize to. Step 2, count backwards. Take your wake time, subtract your own sleep time, 7 to 9 hours, whichever amount is right for you, and add 15 to 30 minutes to allow you to fall asleep. That gives you your target bedtime window. Not a precise moment, a window to think about getting to bed. Step 3, notice your own evening signals. For the next week, pay attention to when you start to feel genuinely sleepy in the evening, not just tired from the day, but that specific, heavy-eyed, losing track of thoughts kind of drowsiness. That's your body clock signaling the sleep window. If it regularly arrives before your target bedtime, you might want to go to bed earlier. If you're regularly wide awake at your target time, your window may be later than you assumed. Now, step 4. Judge success by how the morning feels, not by what the clock says. The real test of whether your bedtime is right is how you feel during the day, not how many hours you clocked. Ask yourself this: do I wake up, or nearly wake up, without needing an alarm most days? Do you? Am I reasonably alert by mid-morning without relying heavily on caffeine? Do I get through the afternoon without a desperate desire to close my eyes and have a little nap? Now, if the answer to most of these is yes, your bedtime is probably working. If not, something in either the timing, the duration, or the consistency needs looking at. Now, wearables can be helpful. If you're someone who likes data, a fitness watch or a ring can give you information about your sleep stages and timing over time. But they're genuinely not required. How you feel is a perfectly good measure. Getting your bedtime right is one half of the job. The other half is making it easier for your body and brain to actually switch off once you're there. 5 things here can help. You don't need to do all 5. Just pick 1 or 2 of them and see what make a difference for you. Number 1, manage your light in the evening. The most underrated sleep intervention is just the dimming of the lights a little bit in the hour before bed. Bright overhead lighting and the blue spectrum light from phones and laptop screens, that tells your brain that it's daytime and it suppresses melatonin. Now, you don't have to go crazy and go banning screens entirely, but switching to lamps, turning down the brightness, or even just wearing screen filtering glasses in the evening can make a real difference to how quickly you feel sleepy. Number 2, watch your caffeine timing. We discussed before, caffeine has a half-life of around 5 to 6 hours in most people, which means a 4 p.m. coffee still has significant amount of caffeine active in your system at 10 p.m. Most people who struggle to fall asleep despite feeling tired would benefit from moving their last coffee to before noon or to the early afternoon at the latest. It's worth giving it a try. Number 3, be honest about alcohol. A glass of wine or beer can certainly make it feel like it helps you relax and drop off, and it does at first. In the first half of the night, it's helpful. The problem is what happens in the second half. Alcohol fragments sleep. It suppresses those deeper restorative deep sleep stages and often causes you to wake earlier than you would otherwise. Now, sleep quality is something you're working on. Cutting back on evening alcohol, even just for a week, is often surprisingly revealing. Give it a try. Number 4, create a short wind down signal. Your brain learns from patterns. A consistent 10 to 20 minute routine before bed, maybe a cup of herbal tea, a few pages of a book, some gentle stretching. That can then become a reliable signal to your brain that sleep is coming. It doesn't have to be elaborate or precious, just needs to be repeated. And over time, that routine starts to act like a trigger for sleep. The same way that the smell of coffee in the morning signals the day beginning. Then number 5, keep your bedroom cool and dark. Body temperature naturally drops as you fall asleep, and a cooler room helps that process. Darkness is a direct signal to your circadian system that it's night. Blackout curtains, especially in summer, and keeping the room a degree or 2 cooler than the rest of the house, are fairly inexpensive changes that genuinely help. You don't need the Pinterest perfect sleep sanctuary. You just need a room your brain associates with sleep, not with doom scrolling or late night emails. Now, sleep is pillar 1 of the new 5 a day, and bedtime is one of the most direct levers you have to control it. The question, what time should I go to bed, doesn't have a universal answer, but your answer isn't hard to find. Remember these 3 things. Number 1, enough duration. Work backwards from your wake time. Give yourself a genuine shot at 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Number 2, circadian alignment. Pay attention to your body clock, to when you naturally feel sleepy, and try to honor that window rather than trying to override it. Number 3, consistency. Keep your timing roughly stable, 7 days a week. And if you can only nail one thing, make it a consistent wake time. Most of us, if we're honest, already know roughly what time we should be going to sleep. The problem is the gap between the knowing and the doing. Just one more episode of Peaky Blinders, being sucked into the vacuum of the algorithm. The sense that the evening is the only time we have to ourselves. That's not a failure. It's a very human response to lives that don't leave much breathing room. But that gap over time is where sleep debt quietly builds up. And sleep debt has a way of making everything else harder. Focus, mood, patience, health. So, pick a bedtime that makes sense for you. Make it reasonably consistent. Create a small signal for your brain that the day is ending. And see how you feel in a week. Now, if you want the full science behind this, the circadian biology, the chronotype research, what the large studies actually show, there's a companion deep dive post on our website at www.new5aday.com. That's the number 5, along with the full citation list for everything we've covered today. Next episode, we're going to revisit Pillar 2, Eat Well, and take a look at those nasty old UPFs. Hey, if this has been useful, please like, follow, and share. Until then, take care, sleep well.